what we reject is usually what God wants. Isn't this true in your life? Isn't this true in your life? Think of the good things that have happened in your life. They were things you weren't expecting. Now think of the bad things in your life. In my life, at least, they were things I had to have. You know, I always get a kick out of young people when they fall in love in high school. You know, it's an odd thing in high school. Girls pray for some guy to take to the prom. Guys pray for a certain car. I don't know, but that's what young American boys and girls pray for. Well, picture the young girl praying for the young guy. Lord, please, I want to take this guy I want this guy to take me to the prom. Well, eventually God gets sick of hearing it and grants her request, and then 3 or 4 months later she's saying, oh God, get me out of this mess. Have you ever said that prayer in your life? I gotta have it, I gotta have it. Oh Lord, why did you give this to me? You know, we do that with God. But there are things that come into our life that are just blessings. We weren't expecting them, and they were the best thing ever to happen to us. Grace is what's given, sin is what's taken. Grace is what's given, and sin is what's taken. That in our life, we find that we can trust God only by trusting Him. We can only learn to trust God by trusting Him. And those things that I want are often the worst thing for me. And those things that I reject are sources of blessing and grace. That's a biblical principle. That's one of the way God works. God surprises you with blessings. That's a principle, a biblical principle. The stone rejected by the builders. Now, that particular quarry was used to quarry stone to rebuild the temple after they came back from exile. And the temple had been rebuilt by Herod, and it was a magnificent building. And in the entrance to the inner shrine, there were 2 pillars, and they were gold-plated. And up these pillars there was a vine, and the size of the grapes, made of solid gold, the grapes were the size of a softball. And an honorable work was to donate one of these grapes or leaves or part of the vine. And this gateway, this doorway, was maybe 50 feet tall. It was an unbelievable thing. Jesus said once, I'm the true vine. In other words, this golden gewgaw, it's nothing. I'm the true vine, and Israel is the true vine. Okay, I'm going to get a little complicated. Are you still awake? I hope you're awake, because it's going to get very strange. We are in a crisis in this country. Have you noticed? I mean, it's an economic crisis. It's a moral crisis. It's just a. Don't you dread waking up to look at the newspaper? You think, oh, Lord, what is it today? You know, we are in a crisis. You know, the illegal immigration problem is way down. Nobody's coming because there's just not the jobs. We got trouble. Well, let's look at it from the eyes of biblical principle. God has a cause and effect. I have a theory, and it's kind of a harebrained theory, and I'm looking at my watch because I don't want to go too long. When I was a kid, in another century, and the woolly mammoth roamed, do you remember Sundays? You went to church, you went home, you had the laying on of food, and that's what you did. You couldn't go shopping on Sunday because nothing was open in this country. Believe it or not, for those of you who are more recently arrived, you couldn't buy anything on a Sunday. Gas stations weren't even open, as I recall. It was just, Sunday was dead. It was great. Well, have you looked recently at the 10 Commandments? You got idolatry, you got adultery, you got murder, and you got resting? I mean, think of this. You're forbidden to commit murder or to commit idolatry or to lie. And then there's one commandment that says you got to rest. There's a commandment that says you have to rest. You hear the joke, wouldn't you like someone to say, you go to your room and take a nap? Wouldn't it be nice now if someone ever told? Well, there is someone telling you that. It's God. But somebody sued and decided they wanted to keep their store open on Sunday, and they made the point that to forbid stores to be open, to have laws that forbid commerce on Sunday, well, they were a violation of the separation of church and state. And so gradually a store opened, then the store next to it had to open because, well, the first store was getting all the business, and in a year or two, everything was open. Sunday for us, read the Catechism, is a Sabbath. We stopped honoring God's call to rest. Well, why is that a rule in the first place? Why is it a rule in the first place? Because there's something more important than money. I know it's a dangerous thing to say before the collection, but there's something more important than the making of money. When we stopped honoring the Lord one day a week, our society began to collapse. And the crisis we find ourselves in now is a crisis of money, isn't it? How did we get into this mess?